The novel opens in the small village of Nava, in Afghanistan, where Enaiatollah Akbari lives with his family. His childhood is marred by the constant threat of violence due to the Taliban's control of the region and the systemic persecution of his ethnic group, the Hazara. The Hazara people face brutal discrimination, and Enaiatollah's father is killed by bandits, leaving his family vulnerable. Fearing for his safety, especially after threats from the Taliban, Enaiatollah's mother makes the heart-wrenching decision to take him across the border to Pakistan, where she hopes he can find safety. She leaves him in Quetta, telling him to always be honest and never steal or use drugs. It is at this moment that Enaiatollah realizes he is on his own. In Quetta, Enaiatollah's struggle for survival begins in earnest. As a young boy with no family or support system, he is forced to rely on his wits and resilience to make it through each day. He finds work in a carpet factory, enduring harsh labor conditions and exploitation. His days are spent working long hours under oppressive conditions, and he is paid very little for his efforts. The carpet factory is a reflection of the broader exploitation faced by refugees and migrants, who are often forced to accept dehumanizing work in order to survive. Despite the challenges, Enaiatollah remains determined to survive, even as he begins to dream of a better life elsewhere. After enduring life in Pakistan for a few years, Enaiatollah decides to leave in search of better opportunities, joining a group of migrants who plan to cross into Iran. The journey is treacherous, as they must traverse mountains and evade border guards. The smugglers who guide them across the border are brutal and indifferent to their well-being, often abandoning people who can't keep up or demanding more money for their services. Enaiatollah faces harsh conditions, hunger, and exhaustion, but he eventually makes it to Iran. However, life in Iran proves to be just as difficult, with the constant threat of being arrested as an illegal immigrant hanging over his head. In Iran, Enaiatollah works in construction, again facing dangerous and exploitative labor conditions. The work is physically demanding, and the pay is meager, but it allows him to survive. He lives in constant fear of being discovered and deported back to Afghanistan. Despite the hardships, Enaiatollah finds a small sense of community among the other migrant workers, many of whom are also from Afghanistan. The solidarity between the migrants provides some comfort, but life in Iran is far from easy. After several years in Iran, Enaiatollah decides to continue his journey, this time aiming for Turkey. He joins another group of migrants and faces yet another dangerous and uncertain journey, crossing the border into Turkey with the help of human traffickers. The conditions during the journey are brutal. The migrants are crammed into trucks, deprived of food and water, and treated like commodities by the smugglers. Enaiatollah endures unimaginable hardships, but his determination to reach a better life keeps him going. Upon reaching Turkey, he realizes that the challenges are far from over. In Istanbul, Enaiatollah again falls into the pattern of finding precarious work to survive. He works in various low-paying, under-the-table jobs, constantly wary of being arrested. Despite the tough conditions, he begins to meet other migrants who share similar stories, and they form a loose community of support. Istanbul, a bustling metropolis, presents both opportunities and dangers. Enaiatollah learns to navigate this world, but the constant fear of deportation or exploitation weighs heavily on him. One of the most harrowing parts of Enaiatollah's journey is his attempt to cross the Aegean Sea from Turkey to Greece. Along with other refugees, he boards an overcrowded, flimsy boat, at the mercy of smugglers who care little for their safety. The sea crossing is terrifying, with many boats capsizing or being intercepted by authorities. The title of the novel, In the Sea There Are Crocodiles, reflects this phase of the journey, symbolizing the immense danger and fear associated with crossing the sea. Miraculously, Enaiatollah survives the journey and arrives in Greece. Life in Greece is no easier for Enaiatollah, as he now faces the bureaucratic nightmare of trying to gain legal status as a refugee. He spends time in refugee camps, where conditions are poor and hope is scarce. After a while, he decides to continue his journey through the Balkans, traveling through countries like Macedonia and Serbia, often on foot or by hiding in trucks. Each border crossing is fraught with danger, as migrants are constantly at risk of being caught by the authorities and sent back to their countries of origin. Enaiatollah's perseverance is tested repeatedly as he endures hunger, exhaustion, and the ever-present threat of being captured. After years of hardship and struggle, Enaiatollah finally reaches Italy, where his life begins to take a turn for the better. In Italy, he applies for asylum and, to his relief, is granted refugee status. For the first time since his mother left him in Pakistan, Enaiatollah feels a sense of safety and stability. He is placed in a shelter for refugees, where he receives support and education. Italy represents a new beginning for him, a place where he can finally start to rebuild his life without the constant fear of being arrested or deported. Enaiatollah's journey, while far from easy, is finally rewarded with a semblance of peace. In the Sea There Are Crocodiles ends with Enaiatollah reflecting on his incredible journey and the lessons he has learned along the way. His story is one of unimaginable hardship, but also of resilience, courage, and hope. Through his story, Geda sheds light on the broader refugee crisis and the plight of millions of displaced people around the world. Enaiatollah's personal narrative becomes a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity.